Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world.
Time! Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Full game for the win! Taylor's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you. So glad to have you along on this Tuesday. It's still cold. It's not going to get any better in that regard, but that's okay. It's part of winter. Glad to get it started, I guess, so we can get out of it. But glad to have you along on this Tuesday as we're rolling in towards New Year's Day, which is a couple of days away, as is the Rose Bowl. Indiana taking on Alabama. Of course, that's the big sports news for most of us around here, but still plenty of other things going on. High school basketball getting back into gear, like it didn't really stop. The NFL is about to hit the playoffs, man. The last week of the NFL regular season coming up. Colts out of the playoffs, of course, after losing their quarterback. So that not going to work out too well with them. Indiana basketball gets back at it on the 4th, not till the 4th against Washington. So that one's still a few days away as well, but plenty more going on. Mike DeCourcy will join us on the program today, looking for that. And special guest, Zander Diamont. Looking forward to that. The former feisty quarterback of the Hoosiers. Back in the days of Kevin Wilson, when it was just a struggling ragtag team, but it had some great talent, man. It's you think of those Tevin Coleman and Zander going crazy against Ohio State. Just it was fun in a different time. Yeah, Mike, I'm sorry. It was Mike the Music Man. Mike Shenanigans hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, and I said hi, and it was Mike the Music Man that said hi the other day. I at a ball game. But appreciate everybody that says hello. I think it was Johnny I ran into at Sam's the other day. It cracks me up when I'm out and just dressed nonchalantly and people see me. It's amazing. But I appreciate you saying hi, and even everybody. I greatly appreciate it. The NCAA, I don't know what in the HE double hockey sticks they're going to do. They're about as useless as an old dog with no teeth. Once again, there's a couple of things, and I look forward to talking to Mike about this, because Mike DeCourcy, always the voice of reason, but I'm not going to ever understand this one, because they're deep. They are deep. Eligibility wise, okay. Baylor just signs a guy that was the 31st pick in the NBA draft. Okay, I think he played 4 years professionally in Europe. But yet now he's on the Baylor basketball team as an NCAA athlete. How they can ever decide another eligibility case, or why they think they should, just forget about it. Now, they allowed this. I don't think there was no judge, no court had anything to do with this. This is the NCAA, and that's what makes the NCAA such a useless. No, he did not suit up for an NCAA or an NBA game. I don't care. He played professionally for 4 years in Europe. I don't care if he was in the NBA or not. What are the rules? That's what the coaches are asking. What the hell are the rules? That's what Matt Painter said exactly. We just want to know what the rules are. Because apparently you don't know. Louisville's got a guy signed that played in the G League. There's another G Leaguer. I don't know where he is. Where does it end? Seriously. There just doesn't seem to be any set rules. And how do you move forward? It's ridiculous. Then you've got more troubles for the NCAA. In Tennessee, and I'll talk about all this with Mike DeCourcy, like I said. But in Tennessee, former football coach Jeremy Pruitt sued the NCAA, and a judge has granted a preliminary injunction prohibiting the NCAA from enforcing their 6-year show cause that they slapped against him for cheating. How can it? I don't understand how an organization can make a rule and then a judge say, well, you can't do that. Well, why? Why can they not? How can any company set a rule? How does that, then why do regular companies set any rules? Why do you have to be on time to work? Just go sue them. Hey, I had a cold. I mean, if we're going to, is it society? Are we just, is the softness of society just permeating everything? I don't know, man. It's, are they afraid to stop? Are they afraid to say no? It's crazy. And it's really impacting everything. You're going to have people playing college sports that are, I don't know, well past the 5-year mark. 24, 25-year-olds, 26-year-olds. I mean, there basically is no age limit in college anymore. Not only that, I wonder how long will it be before there's no, how long you can play. Yesterday I talked about Diego Pavia and that group suing, which I thought this was already settled, about the JUCO years not being counted against them. So they can play more because he knows he doesn't have an NFL career. I'm pretty sure about that. And he's going to have to make his money in college. But we'll see, man. Plenty to talk about. Rose Bowl action going on, of course. As a matter of fact, let's hear a little bit. Our man, daggone it, drawing a blank. Aiden Fisher, starting linebacker for Indiana. The Hoosiers, they're in Pasadena, by the way. They're there. They landed. They had to be there yesterday. Obligations, media obligations, this, that, and the other thing. All the things that Cignetti would rather not be doing, and I get it. He wants to stay focused on this game, keep his team focused on this game. He would rather have come in, I don't know, maybe, probably couldn't have landed that morning. It would have been, very possibly. But at worst, he would have rather have landed the night before. But they had to be there yesterday. So, yeah, we'll see what that works out today. Aiden Fisher, meeting with the media yesterday, though.
Yeah, I think it was really good for us to get practicing this morning, kind of handle some of the preparation, do the travel, be ready to go again for practice tomorrow. I think that really helps when you can not take a whole day just to travel and kind of get situated. So now we're kind of hit the ground running tomorrow morning. But yeah, I mean, easy travel. I remember coming out here for UCLA, obviously not with as much time as we do now, but it'll be good to kind of get some practice in and walkthroughs while we're already here.
In years past, people told us it's a Rose Bowl. Usually that's the end of the season, but knowing this is just a step in your journey, how do you embrace the fact that this is the ground that involved, but this is just a step?
Yeah, I think for us, it's just being in the moment, be where your feet are. For us, it's just the next game. Obviously, you got to, embrace the culture around the Rose Bowl and, the significance of it, the history. But you can't really take it for too much. You got to treat it as the next game and kind of prepare like it's any other game for this year.
What was the vibe like of the team when you get on a plane and you realize, okay, we're going to the Rose Bowl. I'm just going to go play another game. What's the vibe like from that?
Yeah, honestly, it feels like any other game. Obviously the time is earlier, being here earlier. But we know, this game means a lot to a lot of people. The history and the significance of it is, unmatched. So, everybody's excited. We're eager to get out there. But we have a lot more preparation to be done, so just trying to take it day by day.
Aiden, how's the prep ramped up the last 9 days after you knew it's going to be Alabama?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. I think we got ahead of, Alabama when we were doing the initial prep, when we had that kind of off weeks when we didn't know who we were playing yet. We were preparing for both, but, we got a lot of good looks from what they do offensively and, probably defensively as well. But, once we knew, we kind of hit the ground running, kind of had an idea of, what they like to do and what our plan of attack was going to be. And it was just kind of cleaning things up from there and, putting together a really good plan to go forward with.
There's Aiden Fisher, the starting linebacker, middle linebacker for the Indiana Hoosiers, and the quarterback of what I think is the best defense in the country. I know a lot of people think that Ohio State is, and they're pretty damn good. But Indiana, well, they showed it. They beat Ohio State. They shut Ohio State's offense down. So the quarterback of the best defense in the country there, Aiden Fisher, talking to reporters out in Pasadena. And you heard him reference the UCLA game a year ago when they came out there, that the difference there. But it is what it is. And they've just got to get through it. And they've got to deal with it. So it doesn't matter because it is there. They're there. And it's going to be the same for both sides. That's the good thing. Both teams had to be there at the same time, so they're going through the same thing. So they're gonna manage it the same way. There is a magnitude to this game. It is the Rose Bowl. You're playing Alabama. They're doing all this media ahead of it. So there's no way to pretend it's just another game. I don't think. So they've got to learn to manage those emotions and manage all of that ahead of time. We'll see how they do. We've got lots more coming up. The great Mike DeCourcy joins us from the Sporting News, and later on, Zander Diamont as well. Plenty more coming. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio. I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the other side. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to have you along. Mike DeCourcy should be joining me here in a little bit. Hope we, I guess the weather's just now hitting. Mike lives over in Pittsburgh now. He moved from the Indianapolis area back home. And joining me now in the studio, the man from the Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy. How are you, sir?
I am well, Jim.
Happy New Year, happy holidays, all of that. I don't remember what I've been able to express to you and not, so I'm going to get it all in.
Well, Happy New Year to you as well, Jim. Always a pleasure.
It is always mine, man. How did you guys get – we had the craziest weather experience, I'm going to say, of my lifetime. Not that it was dangerous, but we went from Sunday night, it was 70 degrees, 7-0. And the next thing I know, we have tornado warnings.
Ooh.
Then when that was done, the next morning it was 16 degrees. 70 to 16 with tornadoes in between. I'm like, I've never experienced this in my life.
We had similar, but not as extreme. We did not have the tornado warnings, although we did have high winds, and we did have a significant drop in temperature, although ours was closer to high 50s down to probably 20, although with the wind, they were reading wind chills in the single digits. So it was pretty wild here, but I don't think it was quite as extreme as where you are.
Well, that's what we do. It seems like weather, crazy, stupid, dumb. You're always hear people saying, "Oh, well, if you don't like the weather, just wait a minute, it'll change." So don't worry, Mike. For the NCAA, there's been so many instances where we're clamoring on them and hitting on them, and it's. Maybe at some point it used to be kind of fun just because they were some big deal, but now it's not fun. It's scary. It's serious. It's what's going to happen with college sports seriously. Who's going to govern it? Because obviously the NCAA can't anymore. They are getting defeated at every turn, and they're defeating themselves, in my opinion, by allowing guys who were a draft pick that had played 4 years professionally in Europe to now play college basketball, in addition to the guys that were G Leaguers. On top of that, they lost a case for Jeremy Pruitt, the former Tennessee football coach, who has a 6-year show cause against him, saying that they can't do that. And I'm like, nothing they can do can they do anymore?
Well, I think what it shows is that for too long, and remember, this is not just NCAA HQ that is at fault here. This is the membership that passed the rules and then ignored the prevailing opinions that their rules were not going to hold for much longer, and that they should be proactive. And under the prior president's regime, the last thing they were, Jim, was proactive. They were very scrupulously not proactive in terms of addressing changes that might be prudent to and name, image, and likeness in the what I call Cooper flag NIL.
Well, they not only were not proactive, Mike, they didn't even drag their feet. They they dug in.
Yeah, well, that's my point. I
wall.
mean, you look at the Alston case. The Alston case, the core of it was about educational expenses over and above room, board, tuition, books, and fees. So they fought that. Like you couldn't give a kid a computer who didn't have a computer, or you couldn't pay for grad school tuition as a benefit beyond the their eligibility and things like that. They fought that. Like, why would you fight against people who wanted to be educated? But they fought it all the way to the Supreme Court and got obliterated. And from that point on, basically none of their rules have been able to hold. Their academic rules are still in place, and they are obviously they are.
For how long? For how long?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can only say what is now, but their academic rules are still in place, and whether they're enforced is largely up to the colleges. But that's a case of where we are. But I'll be honest with you, Jim, I'm surprised that there's been so much consternation about James Najee because he was the player who had been in the NBA draft in 2023, I believe, was selected in the first round by the Chicago Bulls, I think. And then they traded the rights. Ultimately, I think his rights now stand with the Knicks. Maybe I'm wrong about who drafted, but in any case, his rights now stand with the Knicks. He's never signed an NBA contract with the league, and he's never played in the league. How can that
unusual? How do you be the 31st pick in the NBA draft?
Well, because the team that selected him didn't want a player. They didn't want any player, or at least no player that was still available. So they draft an international player, and they just don't make an effort to sign him.
Why not trade it away?
Well, they did. The team that did draft him traded the rights away. He was part of the Karl Towns deal. I don't know. Like I said, I don't remember now. I'd have to look it up.
Right.
But but in any case, that's not an uncommon thing. I mean, the teams have been doing that for a long time. When they didn't really want a player, they would draft an international player, and maybe he'd turn into Jokic, and maybe he would never be good enough to come over, and that would be okay with them because they didn't think anybody else that was subsequent to that player would be worth having either. And so that player hasn't played in the NBA, and people are losing it over this when we just had a Heisman Trophy runner-up who was playing literally his. Well, let me double check this because I want to get this exactly right.
Oh, and Mike, he's suing for more.
Yeah. Okay. He was playing literally his 6th season of college football and his 3rd senior season. Now, the first senior season was legitimate because he was a senior. He was in his 4th year of college. His second senior season was legitimate because his freshman year had been during the COVID year, and everybody got granted an extra year. Now, the third senior season was a bit much, I would say. And he was allowed to play this year because he won in court. And he had, and his reasoning was, well, he had played his first 2 years in junior college and they don't count. Now, all your academic credits that are accepted by your university, they count toward your ultimate degree. And goodness, I hope he has a degree now after literally 6 years in college. I hope he has one. I don't know whether he graduated or not. But the idea that a guy, that this is the line after that, for me, it didn't even, I didn't even raise an eyebrow. Why would this be a line? The guy didn't play in the league. Now, the report that came out that turned out to be at least primarily erroneous, and that On3 Sports has apologized for, about a player who's on a 2-way contract and has played in the NBA that supposedly was being recruited. That would be a line for me. If you've played in the NBA, I think you've had your chance. But if you haven't, how would James Najee be any different than any of the other international players that are populating college rosters around the country now? I don't see the difference. Merely remaining your name remaining on the draft list doesn't do it for me. It doesn't say anything to me. There was a time in the 90s when you could enter the draft, be drafted, and return to college. And I think it didn't last very long because the NBA said, okay, you can do that, but we're not going to redraft you. So if you don't sign, we're not going to redraft you. So you're stuck with whatever you get. So guys stopped doing it and the rule went away. But there were two players in the 90s, Charles Claxton and Vashon Leonard Charles at Georgia and Vashon Leonard at Minnesota, who played after being second round picks. There was a time when you could enter the draft and remain on the list. And if you did not get drafted, you could return to college.
Right.
So I just don't see why this is particularly bothersome to so many coaches.
I think it's the 4 years of professional play in Europe.
But that's no different than dozens of players who are scattered all around the country. Some in the Big Ten, some
and I
in the
think
ACC.
that's the issue. Is there has been no consistency with what the NCAA has done itself, and they've done themselves no favors by making different rulings for different players for dumb reasons.
How many players have been declined? I don't know of any.
Well, very few lately, I can tell you that.
Well, that's my point, very I don't think they've been inconsistent, Jim.
Just a few years ago, I do not remember the player. It was before the Signetti era, but IU had a football player, and there was a single piece of paper that wasn't sent in correctly, and he was deemed ineligible for the entire year over a stupid piece of paper.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Come on, people. That's totally ridiculous.
When they had that power, Jim, they exercised it to show that they mattered, and that's why that happened. And I'm not defending the NCAA eligibility headquarters. I'm not. Of all the bodies that exist within the pantheon of the NCAA, the eligibility and initial eligibility folks were never my favorites. I never appreciated most of their work, but my point is, just based on the Najee case, is that it just seems like a strange thing to get exercised about when we just had when we have dozens of players with similar to identical backgrounds and more accomplished players. I mean, he was drafted 31st in the NBA, but look at his pro stats, his Euro stats, whatever you want to call them. They're not impressive. I mean, he averaged 5 points a game last year in the ACB, and ultimately left there to go to Turkey and averaged 7 points a game. He may become a very good college player, but nothing about his history says that he will.
He's probably going to have less of an impact than those two G Leaguers that are playing, one for Louisville, and I forget where the other one is.
I'm trying to remember now.
But those guys are I think they're going to be more impact players. But it's like Matt Painter said it yesterday. He goes, we just want to know what the rules are.
That's a fair point he's making.
Rules are, because they keep changing they keep moving the goalposts, and where you can go.
They're not the ones moving the goalposts, Jim. The schools are the ones moving the goalposts. If Baylor never takes James Najee's agent call or never makes a call to James Najee's agent, however that went, if that doesn't happen, that goalpost doesn't get moved.
Well, the coaches are going to do whatever they can do.
That's my point.
Yeah. They're going to get away with whatever they can.
Yeah. I at least respected the fact that Tom Izzo made it about the school that did this. He said he was going to call Scott Drew, and they did have a conversation. I don't know why this is is it because they thought of it first, or I don't know, but I don't see this as being a significant dividing line when the real dividing line is players who have already exhausted what would be normal college eligibility, well exhausted it, even got a bonus year because of the COVID situation. and are still suing to get more. I don't know why this is bothersome to anybody. I think that should have been the campaign, and everybody just kind of stood around and let it happen and didn't make a deal of it.
What about the case in which Jeremy Pruitt has a 6-year show cause for cheating in the NCAA, and now a judge has granted an injunction from enforcing that 6-year show cause, which basically says you can't make your rules, which prohibits guys from coaching in your organization.
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't understand why a court would enjoin that. I don't know why you can't enforce the rules of your competition in that sense. But again, if a school hires Jeremy Pruitt under these circumstances, aren't they the ones making the statement about what matters? I mean, I don't understand why the court would approve of his, of his case. It just doesn't seem to me that the NCAA should not have some rules of competition. There are, like, if Bill Belichick back in the day, I should say, if the New England Patriots had sued the NFL back in the day over Spygate, over their fines and such, and the whatever competitive penalties they got, minimal as they were. If they had sued, would they have won? I don't know. I mean, I think if you have an athletic competition and everyone who's in it is in it voluntarily, that there's especially the competitive part, you should be able to enforce the rules that are around that.
Well, the claim is that the judge Harrison ruled it was made impossible for Pruitt to even mount a defense, which I don't know how that was the case. Pruitt has a reasonable likelihood of proving that had he been given the opportunity for an objective, impartial fact-finding process, the COI would have imposed a less restrictive punishment if one at all, the order reads. How the hell do they know?
Well, I guess they looked at how the NCAA enforcement operated that. And again, back to NCAA HQ, enforcement is not my favorite. Was not my favorite.
The fact that anybody can think that they could predict what the NCAA would say is like Kreskin.
Yeah, I mean, the enforcement division was never my favorite division either. I never thought that they did a great job, but they were, they also were limited by their abilities, by the tools that at their disposal. In a lot of cases, I don't know about the Pruitt case, but in a lot of cases, they were limited by the tools at their disposal. They had no subpoena power, et cetera. So it was problematic for them in a lot of cases to adjudicate these things properly. But remember, the thing about a show cause is not a ban. What it says is that you have to, if a school wants to hire you, they have to show what sort of, why you should be hired and whether there are any mitigations that have to happen while you're employed by the school during that period of time. It's not a ban, and it's often been portrayed as a ban, but it's not. I mean, if Mike DeCourcy got a show cause, good old State U could still hire me to be the strength coach, let's say. I don't know that.
Oops.
I could still be hired to do that. They would just have to show, various different things about why they're hiring me, why they believe in me, how they're going to make sure that I don't mess up again, theoretically, et cetera. So I don't know, the details of Pruitt's case other than that his show cause was what's the verbiage of this? Injunctified? I don't know. I don't know the legal terminology for that. Injunctified. I'm going with that.
Yeah, I guess you make him up as you go along. So I think that's what they're doing. Hey, we've got to take a break. The great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News is with me. Make sure you're giving him a follow and keeping up with his great content over there. The nation's oldest sporting news reporting agency. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio after these messages. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Jim Coyle with you as always, joined by the great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News and a member of the Big Ten's basketball studio team. Man, basketball's, we haven't talked about basketball in so long, Mike. It's unbelievable. It's an afterthought right now. Of course, you've got the Rose Bowl going on. You've got an Indiana football team that's number 1 in the country, number 1 in the CFP, taking on Alabama and Kalen DeBoer, their former offensive coordinator. Kane Womack, their former defensive coordinator, is at Alabama. The former strength coach is at Alabama. It's crazy, the mix there. And actually, their co-offensive coordinator, Nick Sheridan, is still there. Also former offensive coordinator at Indiana. So a crazy confluence here coming in the Rose Bowl for Indiana. An opportunity to excise a demon from decades ago when they lost to USC, but also just to continue this unbelievable march through history as this team that should not be there. There was a graph last week someone put up, Mike, and I talked about it yesterday, but it showed all 12 teams in the CFP. And it listed their 5 stars, 4 stars, and 3 stars on each team. Well, Indiana was not 10th. They were 11th, behind Tulane. They were behind, seriously, they were behind Tulane. They were 11th out of 12 with they've never had a 5-star ever in Indiana football. I think they have 7 4-stars just by memory. You know, how many of those Alabama and those teams have more 5 stars than that? Then the bulk of Indiana is 3 to 0 stars. And it's been awesome to watch the development, those guys that came from the group of 5, which is now a group of 6, but the mid-levels and then just other transfers. But it's just been amazing to watch, and I have to continue to tell people it is the coaching, it's players buying in, but it's also this continuity of this coaching staff cannot be overstated. They have been together for so long. His coordinators has been on his staff for a dozen years. I mean, who has that? That's just rare. But he's got other guys that are 6-7 year guys. Bob Bostad, I think, is the only new guy, and he's been on his staff for 2 years now. So it's that continuity and the style that they coach. I saw a story yesterday that spoke to the guys from IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and how they're not surprised at what they're seeing because this is the same thing. And boy, they knew that in the beginning there were guys that quit, and then there were guys that bought in. And he said all of a sudden we started winning, and I guess it just never changed. But it's still amazing to me, Mike, that a guy like that successful, that good, that dedicated, kind of stayed, I don't want to say under the radar, but he didn't seem to have a desire. You know, most of these guys, they're looking to get to that next level as quickly as possible. Kurt just seemed content to win as he went in a very, very slow process. I mean, most guys don't go from Alabama to Division II.
Well, I think that he did have a hunger to succeed like this, but that it wasn't being recognized. He was not given those shots. He was not taken seriously. The work he was able to get to do at Alabama gave him the shot to become a head coach. But even then he had to go to D2 at IUP, what we call Indiana University of Pennsylvania was the formal name. I think that they changed to IUP because it was getting a little confusing having an Indiana University in Pennsylvania.
And I have to ask, how in the hell is there an Indiana University of any kind in Pennsylvania?
There's a town called Indiana here. That's the thing.
Oh,
it's a small town, about an hour and change east of here.
Good thing they didn't call it the University of Indiana, because that would have really just
yes
put it over the top.
Yes, I mean, like it's kind of like Miami of Ohio. You know, it does get cumbersome, right? So. That's where he had to go to get his break. But if he had gotten a break prior to that, and been a head coach at somewhere prior to that, I think that he would have had this level of success. He's tremendous at what he does. Although one can say that all the lessons that he learned in having to fight and having to work as an assistant coach all those years. And of course, growing up in a football family with his brother, a successful assistant coach in a lot of programs, and his father being a Hall of Fame coach at IUP, as well as at one point the head coach at West Virginia, and playing for Don Nehlen as well. I mean, he's been around some really brilliant minds. I mean, one of the interesting things that I've always found fascinating about Kurt is that he played at Morgantown High because he went to high school in Morgantown because that's where his dad was coaching at the time in West Virginia, and then he enrolled at WVU expecting to play for his dad, and then his dad got fired, and he stayed. I mean, isn't that something in today's deal? If somebody looks at you wrong, you transfer. They fired his dad. Not long after he survived the significant cancer, they fired his dad, and he still stayed and played 4 years there. But there was a value to that. Even though he didn't play a ton, he played under a brilliant coach in Don Nehlen, and that helped him get started in the business that has become his livelihood.
Yeah, and then he has had a few other good ones to be under his dad, Bobby Bowden, Nick Saban. Yeah. So not a bad run for him, but and now he is at the top of the football world. He took the team that was at the bottom last year, no longer at the bottom. Northwestern, thank goodness, has passed Indiana with the most losses in Division I football, as Indiana's only had a couple in the last 2 years. But it's still, no one will ever, even with the transfer portal and all of that, it does not take away from the magic of what is done here. if this, had been done at a school that had success, but this is one that was dead and burned.
Yes. And honestly, the fact that he was able to take and build on last year's success, that's why we named him at Sporting News our Coach of the Year 2 consecutive years. No one in this, and our award has got some age on it. I mean, it was first presented in 1963. A lot of Coach of the Year awards do not have that degree of history, but ours goes all the way back to 63 when Darrell Royal won it at Texas. And there have been a couple. Royal won it twice. Dennis Erickson won it twice. Lou Holtz won it twice. But never had anybody won it back to back. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is that of all the awards that are presented in sports, Coach of the Year is the most subjective. You can interpret it a lot of ways. You can identify a lot of different people that might be deserving. And so typically that might be one you try to spread around a little bit. But in this case, we just couldn't. There just was no way to spread it around after he took the significant success of last year and the significant, maybe even more significant skepticism about last year's success and said, oh yeah, you don't believe this? Okay, here's what we're going to do this time. We're going to win all our games, and then we're going to win the Big Ten championship on a neutral field against the number 1 team in the country. That's so by that, and we're going to produce a Heisman Trophy winner out of a guy who had a nice year at his
two-star, came out of school as a
two-star guy. And I told Kurt this, and I may have told you this last week, but I watched him play last year in person against Pitt on one of the most beautiful days I've ever been to a football game in October of 24, and I didn't see a future Heisman winner. I wasn't searching for one, but one didn't jump out at me, Jim.
Yeah, it's always amazing how it works out, but it's great to see guys, and even Diego Pavia, as much with his other side, was also someone, under-recruited. To see the top 2 Heisman guys be from Indiana and Vanderbilt in front of Notre Dame and Ohio State, that really puts the final stamp on it. But now Indiana gets to go to the Rose Bowl. They're there now in Pasadena. Alabama's there. This is a magnificent big game. It's another opportunity though for Indiana to show the world, I guess, that stop doubting it, stop thinking of Indiana as the old Indiana. Alabama is the quintessential national team. They won more national titles than anybody. They're from the SEC. Nick Saban, they had that run of dominance. And you Bear Bryant. I mean, Alabama is Alabama. Alabama is what Indiana was in basketball. They've kind of lost some of that luster right now, but it's still, this would be it reminds me when Louisville played Alabama. They had this unbelievable opportunity back in 1991 when no one would accept the invitation to the Fiesta Bowl because Arizona had some rule. I think it was a racial, something to do with race and Martin Luther King maybe. But so a couple of teams had declined, and Louisville says, "Oh hell, we'll go play." And they went out and played this big number 4 Alabama team and beat the crap out of them and put them on the map. But not that Indiana needs this to be put on the map, but it is just an incredible opportunity. More importantly, though, it's not the last game. It's just another step.
Yeah, I mean, this is about pursuing a championship, Jim, that they're qualified to achieve. And so, yeah, it would be nice in the sense of defeating Alabama with their history. I mean, you mentioned more national championships than anybody. Bear Bryant retired in 1985. And with the exception of a brief period when Gene Stallings coached them in the early 90s, they kept getting their coach thing wrong until Saban walked in the door. They got it wrong a bunch of times, and they still have more national titles than anybody. I mean, they went through most of a 20 to 25 year period where they couldn't figure out the whole coach deal at all. they had a revolving door of guys who probably shouldn't have been hired in the first place. And now, of course, they get Saban, and he changes everything back to the way it was under Bear. And then Kalen DeBoer, who's a terrific coach. And honestly, that's the best chance Alabama has on New Year's Day, is that DeBoer is terrific. And so Indiana has to be prepared for an inventive coach with reason to invent. They don't have much to lose at Alabama. Winning the Oklahoma game verified their inclusion, and now it's just, let's see how far we can take this. Indiana, on the other hand, is the one overall seed. They're the team that's expected now to win, and so there's always the possibility that the team that isn't supposed to win, especially early in the game, might do some things that are atypical. So you got to be on, a fake punt, a trick play. You got to be on alert for those kinds of things.
Absolutely. And you got Ryan Grubb. He's got Ryan Grubb back, who left for a season after they left Washington. Kalen's first season at Alabama. Ryan was with the Seahawks. Sure, he learned a thing or two in the NFL as well, but they were very successful together. Think about that Washington team that played in the national championship. That was Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb together. So,
right.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a game. They've got great athletes, but what's up next for you?
Yeah, I wrote today about sort of riffing off a little bit all the consternation over the weekend about the future of college athletics, and here's Notre Dame's coach, who could have been in the NFL like that, saying, "No, I want to stay here. This is where I want to be." He hasn't said a lot, and he didn't say a lot on Monday. He just basically said, "Run it back, go Irish." And that was pretty much it. But it was a loud statement, and I have a column about that that's up right now at sportingnews.com.
Go to it. Appreciate it. Mike DeCourcy. Appreciate it.
All right.
You,
and
sir.
oh, by the way, you'll see me on Saturday, Big Ten Network. We've got a game starting at 5 o'clock Eastern and then a few more after that. So Big Ten basketball, I know you're not in the hoop mode, but Big Ten basketball begins in earnest this week. We had the few early games to get a little taste, a little appetizer, but now here comes the full course. It's coming.
We're looking forward to it, brother. Mike DeCourcy, Sporting News, back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jon Wertheim and J.D. Campbell join us next. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. J.D. Campbell joining me. J.D., how are you, sir? got his
That's
Bloomington North
That's
baseball.
Coach Campbell. That's
Coach Campbell,
Campbell.
Campbell's Corner, Coach Campbell's Corner. Want to change the whole name. Campbell's Corner, Coach Campbell's Corner. He's got his Bloomington North. What are you coaching, baseball?
Yeah, JV baseball at North.
Are you? Oh, cool.
Yeah. What do you
When
think?
did that start? I didn't know.
Well,
I figured you'd be the head guy, man.
Well, I'm glad it's the JV group because, JV was one of the funnest years I ever had as a player. And you need somebody that's going to, kick them in the butt a little bit, not much, but to be able to help them learn the game and stuff like that. And just make it enjoyable because the numbers that are playing baseball these days are significantly lower. And you've got to, try to keep people in the game. And again, just because you're the best as a freshman or sophomore doesn't mean you're going to be the best as a senior and so forth.
Well, there's no sense in, you are usually the star of the day. That's going to have to take a sidestep today as we are very, very fortunate, courtesy of JD, to have Jon Wertheim with us. John, you can see JD's got, he's repping you, man. He's got his Bloomington North gear on.
Oh, we thought we were going to talk about Hoosiers. How about Cougars?
And in fact,
that's going to take you way back.
Hey, what I want you to do is text me your shirt sizes and if you need a small, medium, or a medium large, because I'm the king of gear. And I'll have my own key now, which I'm very excited about. I used to be able to get in just about any building I wanted to in IU athletics, and never for nefarious reasons. But I would do that. And so I want to make sure I send something to you. So when we start our actually workouts Monday, but we start, I believe, April 4th or 5th. So,
oh, wow. Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're very fortunate to have Jon Wertheim with us, Bloomington native, Bloomington North High School grad, but also a lot more than that. If you have any TV habits on Sunday like I have since the 80s when I was a kid, watching 60 Minutes after football, you see Jon, and you saw him very recently with the great piece on Indiana football, which was wild to see. But Jon, it's what a trip you've had. Most 60-minute hosts, reporters do not start at Sports Illustrated.
I'm an outlier there. I got to do fun stuff. But no, I would say Bloomington North alum should be top of the list. I take more pride in that than anything else. But forgive my appearance here. I've had some travel issues, and
you look just like the rest of us. What are you talking about, man?
Exactly. It's the holiday season, right? We don't.
John,
this is a casual show, baby. It's a casual show.
The jacket
you
is
mentioned
fantastic. The CBS.
I don't even know what I was wearing. Oh man, yeah, it's branded gear.
John, I spent my early days working for CBS Sports on college basketball and Major League Baseball broadcast.
Oh wow!
As basically a putz. You know those guys that hey, go do this, go do that. I did all that, but it was great experience, great fun. Got to work with the great CBS producers and directors. It was amazing to see all of that go into work, but it was amazing. But you mentioned Bloomington and Bloomington North. I get to thinking, how in the world is Bloomington so lucky to have? You're a native. Then you've got David Lee Roth, the former lead singer of Van Halen, born in Bloomington. I don't know how many people know that. Then you've got John Mellencamp, who lives here, and Jesse Eisenberg, who lives here as well.
Let me give you
Angelo
two other
Pizzo.
People. Let me give you two other people. Terry Stotts.
Yeah, Bloomington Hospital. Yeah, good.
The former Blazer coach?
Yeah.
Portland?
Oh, he does here now?
Yeah, Bucks.
Yes.
I did not know. I knew he was from here. I forgot about that, though.
Yeah.
And
what do you got?
a kid that I had no impact on, but he played for me for about 5 weeks, and that's Will Klein.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Of course, you see.
yeah, exactly.
John, this segment is about learning something, and I try to teach Jim every week something. And I'm glad I was able to get that with you. But we're going to be on for a couple of segments. So what I want to do first is ask you what it was like for you growing up in Bloomington. And maybe when was your first IU football game that you remember? And can you actually believe that we are talking about the number one team in the country and the favorite to win the national championship?
I don't think people quite grasp how outside of Indiana how crazy this story is, just given the decades and decades of struggle. Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, and I mean, looking back, it was a great time to grow up. It's a great place to grow up. You don't, of course, appreciate it at the time, but this is probably about the same age as you guys. I was Bloomington North '89, so Indiana won the national championship 2 years before. Coach Knight was sort of the red hot center of the basketball universe in the 80s. I mean, I think I was in kindergarten when they won in '76. So, 3 national titles during, my first, 11 years in Bloomington. And Indiana was sort of the center. Everyone knew Little Five, everyone knew Mellencamp. Indiana really felt like the center of the world. Indiana football, not part of that conversation. Going to Indiana football games, I mean, I can't remember my first game because it would be like saying, do you remember your first trip to the mall? There was nothing remarkable about it. It was, I mean, I don't even know if you had to pay for tickets back then. There'd be marshmallow fights in the knothole in the end zone seats where we would all sit, and that would be like the highlight of the game. It was just a given Indiana was going to lose. They would usually win. They'd have some soft scheduling, and they'd start the season, 3-0, and they'd beat Western Kentucky, and everyone would say, oh, maybe they're turning things around. And then the Big Ten season would start. If they went 6-5, it was, I think they went to the Holiday Bowl under Coach Corso. That's one of my first memories, staying up late to watch the Holiday Bowl because it was played out west. It was a great game. It was a great bowl, and it was a crazy game.
Yeah.
I think they played BYU, and it went down to like a last-second missed field goal. But no, I mean, Indiana football really struggled. And I tried to get to this a little bit in the 60 Minutes piece you referenced a few weeks ago, and you don't have time to get to everything. But what always struck me was it wasn't like, oh, they don't play basketball. It wasn't like Indiana gets football, and Purdue's got Drew Brees and Bob Greasy before that, and Rod Woodson's from Indiana, and Jeff George, and Notre Dame's a couple, the Colts took a few years to get going, but then the Colts were playing in Super Bowls. It wasn't like basketball. It wasn't like football was this foreign sport to Indiana. They just couldn't get it going in Bloomington. And to sort of, again, 2 years ago, I don't have it in front of me. Well, Indiana was like 3-8, which was kind of a typical Indiana football season. I think people who are outside of Indiana don't quite realize how transforming and how dramatic this has been. Because when I was growing up, Indiana football, it was like going to a high school football. I mean, basketball was like going to an NBA game and who had what seats, and you'd, everybody would know the names of the officials, and it was a real event. And going to football was like going to the grocery store. It was, I got nothing better to do. There's no good movies in the College Mall Cinema. I guess we'll go watch Indiana lose to Iowa or Minnesota, but there was nothing special about it. And again, to see, to be part of it sort of from the ground up, and now see like Indiana getting off the bus at the hotel in Pasadena, making it onto ESPN is it's been a trip.
Yeah, I'm still. It's crazy for people to write number one next to that Indiana name, especially with the fact of it's Kurt Signetti. It's not some name that people knew already, and the guys he brought with him from JMU, and then his brashness being an unknown and coming in and from day one, Google me, I win. I mean, who does that? But he knew everything that he was doing, and that's what amazes me. He knew every move he was making, and every move was with purpose, because this year he's not doing that. He did that last year with purpose to get people excited, to get them wake them up. He goes to the football game. Purdue sucks. Ohio State and Michigan do too. And boy, that was the gauntlet. But he meant it, and most fans thought that was just, yeah, that's fun, great, but he meant it, and but more importantly, delivered. Who the hell does that these days?
It's funny too, though, because what I sort of realized talking to him is it was kind of, I think it was done very intentionally. I don't think this was sort of like, watch this hothead pop off and try and win some cheap points with the fan. I think it was all done very deliberately and strategically. And then you talk to the guy and you're like, wait, this guy isn't outrageous. You think you're getting, this kind of this quote machine, or this kind of, this hothead. That doesn't seem to be the case at all. And I think in a way that almost makes it sort of, it sort of makes you appreciate it more. This was out of character for him. This is not a guy. This is not a look at me guy. This is not someone who's generating bulletin board material intentionally. He's kind of known for those two quotes, but then you realize it's kind of out of character with him, and it makes you realize that was intentional. He was trying to send a message with that. That wasn't just a guy kind of popping off. And again, what he has built and how he has built it, I think he's like a Western Pennsylvania guy, but I think he fits in really well with the culture. I also think that, this is not some 40-year-old who's got his agent on the other line trying to trade up for a better job for a couple $1 million more. You get the feeling that, we could all look silly when he takes the Giants job after the bowl season, but you get the feeling like he's at a point in his life where the stuff that's impressive and flashy to Lane Kiffin is not impressive and flashy to Curt Cignetti, and this is not a flight risk. He's happy where he is. He's in his 60s. Life's good, and I think he's not sort of chasing rainbows.
JD, to John's point, I've talked to several former Bob Knight players, and you would know this, but that when the tournament came around, he would do some goofy stuff, but he did it on purpose. Yeah. He did it completely. Every player told me he did that stuff on purpose to take the attention off the team.
Yes, he wanted the attention on himself. And John, another thing I want to talk about growing up, Jim, if you don't mind.
Nope.
I know my kids did this. Did you grow up with anybody or go to school with anybody or know anybody whose father or mother or whatever were coaches' kids or part of the athletic department? Because I know that a lot of times, there were perks that obviously I had working in Mellencamp Pavilion that my kids could hit anytime it was open, and we could go anytime, or I could take people to games or get tickets to football games or basketball games or whatever it was. And I'm curious to know if you happened to grow up with any of the kids that were living Indiana athletics at the time, and does that stir up any memories or not?
Yeah, sure. Pat Knight was one of my good friends growing up and, starting in elementary school. We're the same year at Bloomington North. It's funny, too, because I was thinking about this the other day. On my school, it was also Diane Corso, who's Lee Corso's daughter, was also on my school bus. And yeah, it was me. And, this is one school bus on the east side of Bloomington going to University Middle School. And it's, Pat Knight in one row and Diane Corso in the row behind her. And then Sam White, who replaced Lee Corso, his kid, Zach, then became the new rider of our school bus. And I think may have been thrown off once for punching a kid, but we don't have to talk about that. I feel the statute of limitations is long lapsed. But no, I think that's a really good point. This is it's a small town. You guys, you know better than I do. It's a college town. It's a small town. Everyone knows everyone. Yeah, it's not. I remember one of my favorite stories that sort of sums it all up in the summer of '84 when the Olympic tryouts are in the Olympic training is in Bloomington, and Coach Knight, because everyone went to Coach Knight, and it was Jordan and Pat Ewing and Chris Mullen, and they would play in Assembly Hall and practice, and they wouldn't even lock the doors. So if you were a kid in Bloomington riding your bike in the summer of '84, you'd go to Assembly Hall. There was no one minding the shop. You'd walk right in, and you'd go down to the court, and there would be Michael Jordan practicing for the Olympics. So, things have obviously changed since then. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't just growing up in a college town, but sort of you really experienced the athletics firsthand because, Todd Yeagley was, I think, a year younger than I was. I mean, everyone knew everyone. And
was he at North also?
No, I think Todd Yeagley was at South. I remember too. I mean, again, it's 40 years later, but I remember him being just the nicest kid, no entitlement. I mean, Indiana soccer was what it was, and Todd Yeagley was just a really sweet, young, nice kid. You wouldn't know his dad was the Hall of Fame soccer coach.
He grew up to be that kind of a man. He is still that kind of a guy, and successful as he has continued that as the Indiana soccer coach. What an amazing that school bus! Oh my gosh, I'm surprised Pat wasn't the guy that got kicked off for punching somebody. I know Pat very well. Also, he's a great guy. Now the coach up at Marion now, Marion University. So amazing to see all of this. But so what? You became a sports reporter initially, and still do sports for tennis on TNT. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm still at Sports Illustrated. Still doing for TNT and Tennis Channel. It's my guilty pleasure.
Don't you also write for The Athletic too at times?
Yeah. I mean, I'm mostly I'm still started at Sports Illustrated like in the '90s, and it's been some ups and downs there, but still on the boat there too.
That's amazing, being able to mix. But so it must be great to be able to keep your first love but be able to do your 60-minute duties, because those things are so wide ranging. And like I said, I watch it. I'm one of those people. I still record and watch 60 Minutes and Saturday Night Live every week.
Love it.
Watch them both. It's just I grew up with that, and it became a habit on Sundays. After football, watch 60 Minutes. It was winter. It was cold. There was nothing else to do, and I just always loved learning that. But I really love watching those. But how did you make the transition from focusing on sports to these other very, very deep topics, whether it's Ukraine or whatever it could be?
60 Minutes had a sports show, like Real Sports. This is like 10, 15 years ago. And I would do some pieces for that. And then they said, you got called down to the boss's office. They said, listen, this is kind of a weird question. I'm like, oh man, where's this going? And they said, would you ever have any interest in doing stories beyond sports? And I was like, heck yeah. You guys know how, I mean, we all love sports, but the older you get, you sort of, I've told that story before, and the rookie who's having an amazing season, or the veteran that's still trying to hang on, like you feel like you've told the same stories many times. So I was happy to kind of, whatever the cliche, stretch my legs and flex new muscles. And it's been a lot of fun. And I'd say I bet like 1 in 4 stories. I mean, I still, I did the Indiana football, and I did a soccer story with a kid in Barcelona a couple weeks ago. But I'd say probably 3 out of 4 stories are non-sports. And to me, it's like, great, happy to learn about new stuff. You guys know this too. I mean, Al Michaels talks about this when, remember the earthquake at the World Series?
Oh, yeah.
I think it was in '89. And people, he did the, he basically broadcast the earthquake, and people are like, "Oh my God, how did you do it?" And he's like, just because I'm here for baseball, yeah, exactly. It's like the same. A story's a story. People are people. You got to ask questions. You figure out how to communicate. Like he's like, people couldn't believe the baseball guy actually could do earthquake coverage, and I think it's a little, at some level. Ukraine,
I think sports guys, not to interrupt you, I think sports guys are better because they have to pull out more from sports guys. Sports subjects are not always the most giving of information. And I think that sports reporters have to learn how to dig more and find out more information from people.
It's a great point. You're right. There's this whole kind of, you got to ask questions the right way, and you got to figure out when's the right time. And you talk to not just a man on the street, but, I found like you interview a musician, I can't remember. I think I did a story on the Red Hot Chili Peppers a couple seasons ago. And I'm like, these guys were, I mean, A, they were awesome. And B, what you realize is that sports sort of has its own, it's cliches. And every time there's a press conference and it's, we're trying to get better for next game and we're not resting on our laurels and we've got to keep working harder. There's no dictionary of cliches in rock music. And these guys start talking and you're like, whoa, that's pretty candid. Or, oh man, that's you took that to a place I didn't expect.
Speak, baby.
Exactly.
Speak.
No Bull Durham cliches and no coach speak. So yeah, if you can pull out good quotes on whoever, Andrew Luck, you'll probably be okay with a politician or entertainer as well.
JD.
Well, I just am proud to learn, and John told me this last night, he was the last person to interview Bob Uecker.
Well, I've been told. I can't verify that, but
well, I can.
I've been told.
That's one of my favorite guys in the world, man.
That's what a good SID does, is he throws it out and hopes that a guy like Bob Hamill, God rest his soul, would come and tell me. And Bob was that resource for me at IU, that I would say, hey, when was the last time this? And we'd be able to go look, because I had like every media guide probably since 1953 or something like that I would try to find. And obviously information is not what it is today. But yeah, talk Uke. What a guy!
Oh, man.
He was the most naturally funny guy I think I've ever seen. That was not a comedian or an actor.
He wasn't.
There's a great.
Well, he became one because he was so damn funny.
There's a great story where he used to go on Carson, and he was very funny. And then finally, Ed McMahon, they'd invite him back, and Ed McMahon's like, "Oh, maybe the baseball guy wants to come back." And Carson's, who? And Carson didn't realize that he was not there because he wasn't a comedian. He had natural timing. He was very funny. I guess his story was, it was like late summer of 2024. It was for CBS Sunday Morning. But he was very funny and with it then as well. And I think the players really liked him. I mean, this is not someone who had a distinguished career. But you go back and watch some old clips, and this guy, he could have been Joe Rogan. Like he could have been a full-time stand-up comedian or a full-time broadcaster. But one of the real American treasures.
J.D. Campbell, former SID from IU with us, and the great Jon Wertheim, Bloomington native, CBS host, and Sports Illustrated writer as well. We've got to take a quick 2-minute break. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouth-watering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday, and could not be more impressed with our J.D. Campbell for pulling in Jon Wertheim, the Bloomington native, current host of 60 Minutes, Sports Illustrated writer. You probably saw the recent story on Indiana football, the great story and a great mix. You know, I talked earlier about the different people that are either from here like yourself or live here. You know, Jesse Eisenberg, how crazy is that? That, you know, an actor with zero contacts except for he married somebody from Bloomington, and so he lives here. Pat McAfee married an IU grad, so, you know, he likes to pump up IU. It's funny to see the IU grads being able to come out of the woodwork because of this, because Indiana has like the second largest living alumni base in the country behind Texas, which is amazing. But what was the reaction? Was there much of a reaction because to that story from a national standpoint? It's not that big of a deal, I would imagine.
It's funny. I mean, you know, sometimes you do pieces and you get the president is unhappy about it, or you get a lot of sort of angry mail. I mean, this was pretty. I don't know who could object to Indiana football underdog story. I did hear from a lot of old high school friends, so that was fun. But no, I mean, this was a fun. Yeah, I mean, this was honestly what's not to like about a team that struggled for decades and a coach who's been overlooked for decades, and our Heisman Trophy winning quarterback's not exactly a guy you get the trolls come out for. There's not a lot that you can't not like about the story. So yeah, this was one of the sort of got probably nicer feedback for anything I've done in a while.
Hey, John, I wanted to talk a little bit about the first time you and I met. And it was my second year, and you called up and said you were, you know, a Bloomington kid, graduated from North, and you wanted to do a story on the transition from the Kelvin Sampson era to Tom Crean. And I went back and read some of that last night, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize. I know most people know about kind of what happened and things like that, but when you got quotes from like Eric Gordon Sr. and how Eric and DJ White at times didn't fit in, and then there was the giant picture of the guys on the team that the best player was Kyle Tabor, you know, and so. You know, you've done it. I think you did a couple articles with me, but that was the one that really stands out because of the impact. And obviously at the time, you know, Indiana basketball was one of the biggest stories in the state, if not the country. But what do you remember about that? And I think I took care of you, but I didn't always take care of everybody. But that's something that's something that I really remember, and that stands out.
Oh man, I appreciate that, and thanks for taking care of me. I just remember it was, this was already like 8 years after Coach Knight left, but you still had this real tear in the fabric. And Mike Davis was kind of like a sugar high, like it was fun in the first year, and then they get to the final. You know, they come within a game of winning a national title. But then things kind of got unsettled, and then Mike Davis leaves, and Kelvin Sampson. We all know what happened. Nice to see Kelvin Sampson with a bounce back, but it was really sort of an unsettled time. And then they get this coach out of Marquette, and seems like a good Midwestern guy, but people don't really know a lot about him. And he's got these famous brothers-in-law, but he put Dwayne Wade in the NBA, but no one really knows what he's going to bring to Bloomington. And I remember you guys were great to deal with, but there was a real sort of wariness. I remember Coach Crean kept saying, "It's Indiana, it's Indiana." That was kind of his catchphrase, meaning like, you know, this is a storied program and we'll get this thing back on track. But I remember it was really this tear in the fabric that started in the late 90s with Coach Knight still hadn't healed. And there was this, I mean, you know, you're looking back, what Kelvin Sampson did, probably not a felony. Again, I think he talked for me for that story, which I always really respected, that he was accountable, but it was a really sort of trying time for Indiana basketball, and no one quite knew what to make of this coach. And the sort of assignment was basically like, who is Tom Crean, and is he the guy to kind of restore this program? And I think, I mean, you can wait. I'm curious how you would weigh in on this too, but I think at the time anyway, he did stabilize things, and the roster got better, and the recruiting got better, and there wasn't, the NCAA sort of investigators weren't driving down from Indianapolis to look at illegal payments. I mean, I think at some level that was a successful phase. But yeah, man, that was geez, we're getting old. That was already almost 20 years ago.
November 2008. And having lived it, I can tell you, we took a lot of crap because people, it's not like now. If you had the transfer portal, there would be nothing that, but we couldn't get guys to come here because, Bruce Weber, his famous line, somebody asked him at a function, what do you know about the Big Ten? He goes, well, I know Indiana's going to suck. And that's why when he was the first ranked win for us in 2009-10, again, there was a lot of elation. Every win over a program that would just kick us was a big thing. Starting off beating Kentucky.
Right.
Then the Crossroads started and we beat Notre Dame. Then we got thumped at Michigan State and came home for New Year's Eve and beat a number 3 Ohio State. All of those, getting to the NCAA tournament, getting to the Sweet 16. But obviously the two biggest moments, and I still say to this day, I think people took it for granted, was winning the Big Ten championships in 2013 and 16, because they hadn't won a outright Big Ten championship in 20 years. And continually for the entire tenure, probably since 2009, when that first freshman class of Hulls and those guys came in, it was nonstop criticism. And it does wear you down mentally. And even getting to the NCAA tournament wasn't good enough.
I'm curious what you guys think. I mean, at some level, it's like to what Coach Crean kept saying again and again, like it's Indiana. How low can you have this kind of a history, this kind of a fan base, this kind of a tradition? How low can it go? I'm curious, sort of what you guys experiencing in real time were. What was the big concern? I mean, was it just criticism or other Big Ten teams kicking a program when it was down, or did you really worry the bottom was going to fall out?
No, we never worried that the bottom was going to fall out. We always thought we could get talent. The expectation in Indiana is that you get Indiana talent. And you may remember guys like Deshaun Thomas? I think Fort Wayne kid goes to Ohio State. So getting Zeller, getting Hulls was a huge thing for us because Kelvin and his group wasn't even recruiting them. And this was a kid that wanted to go to Indiana. He grew up there. In fact, I'm going to have to tell you the '84 Charles Barkley story with Jordan's dad, JC, and that'll make it, however cold it is in New York, you'll enjoy and laugh about that story. But getting the Indiana kids, getting the right Indiana kids, and the problem I felt and still feel is technology. You have access to every article on the internet. And so you'd have a lot of negative recruiting, and you'd have a lot of people say to recruits, why would you want to go there? Why would you want to go there? Because it doesn't matter what you do. No matter what you do, you're going to get criticized. Your family's going to get angry and frustrated. And so those were the kind of things that we had to overcome and did. We were a fun team to watch. And to get to Tom's credit, he still ran the same offense, whether he had great players or whether he had guys, Devin Dumas, Jeremiah Rivers,
Right.
because the guys that stuck around and would be part of the big turnaround, the indelibles, as Jim Nantz called them, it became like a machine, and so we did those 2 years, and then we got it back with the recruitment, Thomas Bryant, Juwan Morgan, OG Anunoby, with those holdovers, Nick Zeisloff. But yeah, the technology is what I think has contributed very much to the negative recruiting that goes on, that people say didn't exist back in the 60s and 70s, because, you know, bulletin board material, that was my job, finding bulletin board material to use. So that's the history of Indiana basketball that we dealt with in that post-night era. And the negative recruiting that was used against it. Even, you know, I think the last guy that you talk about, a guy maybe you went to high school with, Sean May.
Yeah. He was a few years younger, but yeah, exactly. Yeah, a few years younger.
It's amazing, all the guys that went to just Bloomington North alone, much less Bloomington, but Bloomington North itself it's amazing basketball players that came out of there, and as well as yourself, and to be able to get into the sports reporting without you left. You didn't go to IU, but of course, good reason. You kind of went to some school back east that may be pretty well known. You're a Harvard guy, right?
Yeah, close enough. Yale, but I'm an Indiana.
Okay,
but I don't want to talk. I'm an Indiana guy.
I had to pull. I knew that was a bad thing, but no, but the sheer fact that Yale is pretty good education there. So amazing. What drew you? Was it just because did they reach out to you? But how did Yale? I mean, Yale is not something that everybody can think of coming out of high school. What was it that did they reach out to you, or how did that come to be?
I don't know. You know, you're like a dumb teenager, and you're like,
I know it's embarrassing, but hey, man, it's a great accomplishment, and it's a great start to this, and the fact that you end up at Yale, and then but full circle come back and do all these great things that you've done. It's just I'm amazed at it. I wish I was as dumb as you were as a teenager. Let me tell you, I wasn't quite that dumb. I wish I was. I was much dumber. I didn't get to make that decision.
No, I mean, I think it's probably pretty common, right? You're 16, 17 years old. I got to get out of this town. Everyone's just driving around the square. Everyone knows everyone. There's a whole world out there. I mean, it doesn't take long to realize Bloomington's a pretty special place. But yeah, I was one of those kids who's like, I'm leaving Indiana. There's a big world out there, and I'm tired of the college mall and nothing else to do in this boring town. But you realize pretty quickly you could do a lot worse in South Central Indiana.
Yeah. Well, and you've enjoyed your time. You've got two beautiful kids and living in New York with your wife. Just a special thing. But boy, how different is it? I mean, I've been there several times. I know New York and Bloomington. But you want to talk about two ends of the spectrum?
You can't hear the car horns outside my window.
I miss it. I miss the sirens. I miss the sirens when we stay down on Times Square.
You'll we'll give me 5 more minutes. We'll get a siren in here.
Okay.
It's the holidays, though. No, I don't know. I mean, I think, I don't know if you guys have this too. I think traveling really helps. I think if I had to live in New York like 365 days a year, it might be different.
Right.
But, you're on the road, and sometimes it's big cities and sometimes it's small towns. And I mean, I've really enjoyed living here. I don't know, does 60 Minutes find you if you're in, if you're living elsewhere? I don't know. I mean, it's all trade-offs. It's like spirits. There's a horn. You hear that? I don't know. It's all trade-offs. But again, I have a really soft spot. I mean, even coming back a few weeks ago, people are like, Bloomington's changed so much, you're not even going to recognize it. And you're like, really? Like, there's a little more student housing, and there's
boy is there.
But that's about it. I mean, I still is what it is. Still a nice.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a guy named Michael Gargiulo in the morning news? He does it for NBC New York up there. But I used to work with Michael at the CBS station in Louisville. I actually started out in TV. I used to be a sports anchor, but I, of course, started out as the putz like everybody else does. But I got to work with Michael. He's been up in New York for a long time hosting the NBC morning news, but it's the local NBC affiliate, I believe.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Hey, John, I would be remiss if I didn't put a plug in for a book that a friend of mine told me about that you wrote in 2005.
One of 11.
Transition Game, How Hoosiers Went Hip Hop. Sorry to bring up.
I saw that.
And this guy said, you've got to read this. You've got to read this. And I know it's available on Amazon, so I'm going to get it for a New Year's treat. But it, you know, I know we're getting short on time, but talk about that experience and what that was like, writing the book about how Indiana high school basketball was changing, what it was, and then what it became.
Oh man. I mean, the deep dark secret is my dad was sick in Bloomington, a Bloomington hospital, and I was coming back and forth so much. I'm like, you know what? A, I could use just kind of the mental distraction, but B, I may as well get some work out of this. So that was kind of half the motivation. But no, it struck me that basketball was still very much a part of the fabric of Indiana, but it was changing as the state was changing. And the Bloomington North team of the time, and it was sort of Jared Jeffries. You mentioned Sean May. I don't know if you remember the Duaney family.
Yes, yes.
That was a lot different from Kyle Macy and Steve Alford. And you had Greg Oden and Zach Randolph, and Indiana at the time had Mike Davis, who I think wasn't just the first black basketball coach at IU. I think he was the first black coach in the whole history of athletic department.
No, Joby was before him.
I think maybe head coach.
He was the assistant, though.
Yeah, right. Head coach. But I mean, what occurred to me was the changes in Indiana were kind of being reflected in the changes in basketball. And you had, there's this family from Sudan who is suddenly this sort of dynasty at Bloomington North. And I spent a lot of time with that program. The coach was Tom McKinney at the time. And it was sort of how Indiana was kind of adjusting. Indiana was looking different as a state, and it was kind of being reflected in the basketball. The Fever and the WNBA was a part of that book too. I mean, when I was growing up, it would have been inconceivable that there'd be a pro women's team playing in what then would have been Madison Square Garden of Conseco, but you had Tamika Catchings and I mean, it was sort of the changes in Indiana being reflected through basketball and vice versa.
Well, John, man, I can't thank you enough. I could go all day with you, and I can't thank JD enough for making this happen. I hope we can do this again, because there is so much more I would just love to talk to you about you and all the things that you've done. You're just, I think, an amazing person. But I love being able to see you on 60 Minutes and know that people that you came from these humble beginnings as well. So it's great. And again, JD, thank you. Do you remember Zander Diamont?
Yeah.
I know JD does, but
his dad
Zander
was on
played
Young and the
for
Rest. Don, Young and the Restless. I was on a flight from the West Coast with him one time. We were coming back. I don't know what I was doing out in LA at the time, but I remember he was coming to a game. And Don Diamont.
And then his mother, if you're a Seinfeld fan, his mother is the Jerry Love Affair, that the one that caught something from a tractor seat. That's Xander's mom that was in the Seinfeld episode. So crazy. It's just the craziness never stops.
I think he's a real estate agent, or he was at one time.
Commercial. Big time.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. John, again, thank you so much for taking time. I know it's you're enjoying the holiday season with your family now, so can't thank you enough. And I hope we can do this again. There's so much more we'd love to talk about.
You got it. I got to come up with some more. I mean, Kevin Pritchard was born in Bloomington Hospital. John Gruden was in Bloomington. I got to come up with some more.
Yes.
I think Terry Stotts is a good pull. He was Bloomington.
You could
North,
almost do an entire story on Bloomington people.
Exactly.
I mean, Mellencamp, David Lee Roth, Stotts, just all these different people that are Jesse Eisenberg.
So wait, what's the deal with? Because I see him. He lives near me here in New York, and I see him on the street. And he's always got this red IU ball cap. But then someone
his
also said
wife
he lives
went
out
to
by
IU, but he
okay.
lives in Bloomington, or he has
That's
a
really
place in
funny.
Bloomington. So I think Mellencamp also has a place in New York.
Gotcha. Oh, that's
Hey,
funny.
You were 10 years old, I think, 9 or 10 when Breaking Away was filmed. I don't know if you remember anything. If you rode your bike, maybe you tried to be an extra driving by. You see the cameras and you just zoom by and pop wheelies with your baseball cards and the spokes, and
Wait, I'll give you a good one real quick. That they, for the final scene, the big race scene, they wanted people in the stands, and I think they gave it's like $5 to the university for everyone that came. So yeah, I was in like third grade, and they filmed. I'm somewhere. I'm in that crowd scene, but I remember it was hot. It's kind of boring, and they're doing different takes, and there are trucks going around the track with cameras on it. It was cool for about 5 minutes, and then you're like, this stinks. This is making movies. This isn't so glamorous. But I think somewhere, if you look closely, you can slow it down, and you can find me in that final race scene. But yeah, no, I mean, that's what I mean. Like Bloomington in the 80s, between Breaking Away and Mellencamp and Coach Knight and national titles, it really was sort of a relevant place. It was really, I feel very lucky to have grown up where I did when I did.
Well, we can't thank you enough, brother. Enjoy the rest of your holidays. Happy holidays to you and your family, John.
Stay away from Times Square.
Don't worry. Don't worry about that.
Jon Wertheim from 60 Minutes. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. It was a pleasure. Take it easy.
Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio after this.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday, and we are so grateful to have Zander Diamont with us. You know Zander, the crazy man who used to drive Ohio State crazy back in the days, Kevin Wilson era. And, man, thanks a lot for joining us again, Zander. It's been a while since we spoke.
Yeah, no worries, man. I'm excited to be on.
Man, it's always fun to have you on. Whenever I think of you and I think back of those days, I'm like, wow, it was so fun watching you guys, between you driving those guys crazy and then handing off to Tevin Coleman and watch him just go from 80 or 90 or 60 or 70 or wherever the hell he wanted to go from. It was still a fun time for Indiana football, but my God, we have entered a new era, Zander.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, man. I don't know why. I don't know if I'm crazy, but some part of me always felt like we were gonna get here, and maybe not number one, and all of the kind of the nuances and details, but I just always felt like IU was destined to be on some level a football school and a football program because it's just an incredible university. It's got the history. We're in the right league. We're in the right conference. It's a great place to recruit, and it's one of the best college towns in America. So it feels right.
And it is funny when you think back. I can, covering them for so long, I can think there were so many times that they were a season, there so many games where they were just close, but could never beat. They couldn't beat Penn State. They couldn't beat Ohio State. They couldn't beat Michigan. They just couldn't get it done for the most part. Like other teams would occasionally have these big upsets, but Indiana just didn't get that, and it was crazy, but they were always close, and it was almost drove you crazy. But man, what Curt Cignetti has done and how they've done it, it's been amazing to watch. The transfer portal, of course, a major part of that. But Zander, they built this team on guys like you who just were gritty and worked their ass off, and they weren't the 5-star recruit. They were overlooked, and they've developed. I mean, he brought the guys from JMU and then all these other transfers. Indiana, well, they had a chart put up that I've talked about a lot today that showed of the 12 CFP teams, the 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, etc. Indiana was 11th behind Tulane.
Yeah, it's unreal. I mean, clearly Cignetti's got a knack for finding talent and developing talent. I mean, even looking at, a guy like Mendoza, who's obviously incredibly talented, but I remember watching some of his footage at Cal, and, once I heard there were some whispers he might be coming to IU, and I definitely, obviously you could see some talent there, and the guy had ability and made some big throws and some big runs, but even in the short time he's been with Cignetti, he clearly was developed in a way that maybe he hadn't been at Cal. And so there's something about, Coach Sig and the program and the assistant coaching staff that, these guys just know what they're doing and they know how to develop. And I think it's just a characteristic of great programs is they know how to bring guys in and get the best out of them. And I think when I look back at some of our time in the Wilson era and, as you pointed out, like some of these super close games that we had, and we did have some big wins. I mean, we beat Penn State, we beat Michigan State, couldn't get over Ohio State or Michigan, but we're within a score, within a field goal. But I don't know that we always got the best out of our guys. And I think there was a lot of fear motivation as opposed to, maybe swagger motivation or just kind of raw confidence. And I think that kind of has unfortunately a negative impact on a football team. But whatever Cignetti's got going over there and what those guys are doing is very real. And they've got a system.
No doubt, and it is working. And but now they have the opportunity to add yet another page to this unbelievable legacy of this season. Zander Diamont with us, as they'll take on Alabama in the Rose Bowl. But it's not the end of the road here. That's the thing. Normally the Rose Bowl, you put all your marbles into that. But even if you win this game, you've got 2 more, hopefully, that you're going to be playing in.
Yeah, it's an incredible opportunity. It's not going to be an easy task for them. Road game on the other side of the country on a grass field. Alabama, obviously a super talented football team, but they've shown some chinks in the armor. So, they're definitely beatable, but it's going to be a real, I think this will be their biggest challenge yet, maybe even more so than the Big Ten championship.
What have you seen when watching this team this year, when you've been able to catch them? I know you're living out in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area, building a lot of nice homes, by the way. If anybody, I know we have some listeners out that way that have contacted you. So anybody that lives out there or planning to retire out there, I know a lot of people go out there. You got to reach out to Zander and let him build your house or sell you one that you've already got, right? You got some good stuff going on out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Please check us out for sure.
What's the, is it still Minimal Concepts?
Yeah, so we've got Minimal Living Concepts. We were the largest guest home ADU builder in the state. And then about 2 years ago, we kind of created sort of the sister company where we started building these luxury, large-scale homes, which was really always our mission and our target. That company is called Minima Homes, Minima, minimahomes.com. And yeah, we're doing really beautiful projects, anything from, $3 to $9 million homes. Yeah, man, it's been an incredible journey and ride, and I'm honestly, I'm shocked at how many IU people there are here in Arizona, and still bump into IU folks all the time. I was at the Cigar Lounge watching the Big Ten championship. It was full of IU people, so it's always shocking how big the IU alumni is.
Yeah, it is great. And I know that there are a ton of people that are planning to go to the Rose Bowl. I know people that are going that cannot name, they couldn't name you or Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of people, jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak. But hey, that's what we need right now. Hopefully those people are here to stay and are going to be here long term. And, there's going to be setbacks. I know we're unfortunately part of what happens when you have some stellar seasons like this is then anything short of a national championship run becomes sort of, a downer. And, I think it's just, I really hope that the IU fan base really stays behind the football program. And, I just want this to be something that's here to last and stay. And I think as long as Signetti's around, I think it will be.
No doubt. It seems like it's heading in the right direction, and it's going to continue to get better. The transfer portal opens up the day after Indiana plays, and so if they win, they'll be moving on, of course, but they'll also the portal will be open, meaning some players could actually enter the portal at that point, which is nuts. But something else I thought of, if Indiana wins this game, Zander Diamont with us, their season will last longer than the Indianapolis Colts.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, that's crazy. Honestly, that is something that I think it's hard for me to wrap my head around, because even going to that first bowl game, a couple bowl games, the season starts to feel really long. So, hats off to these guys and these coaches and these players that are able to stay focused and stay healthy for as long as they're being required to now when you're deep in the playoffs. It's no short task, and keeping a team focused and humble and on task is not easy. So yeah, man, hats off to the coaching staff and all those guys.
Right, you can't see it on the YouTube part of the broadcast. I've got a picture up. It's you with this little girl that it's the niece of a girl who one of our listeners, Jake Gritty. I'm trying to judge her age. I'm gonna say she's 8, maybe. She's, I think, a freshman or sophomore at IU right now.
Wow.
Just funny, but a great picture of you at a basketball game, I think, wearing your jersey, it looks like, but just great stuff. But people remember, man, they love you. They still remember those great days, and it was still fun watching that team play. It wasn't today, it's different, but you guys at least made it fun, man. It was crazy fun.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I am, to be honest, completely shocked and humbled by the consistent love that I've gotten from the IU football, Indiana college football sort of, world. To think that 165-pound kind of half backup, half starter, kind of wildcat running, whatever I was, to think that I still am getting messages all the time on Twitter. It's kind of shocking to me, and I don't fully understand it, but I'm humbled and grateful that, I had an impact on people and on the program. And just the support has always been, incredible. But yeah, I think it was a very fun era. And, I think, I do think Wilson and that era was kind of the beginning of creating a real football program. From all the stories that I had heard prior to that, it really was kind of, it just was kind of a joke within the administration and the locker room. And I think Wilson came in and was kind of crazy and gutted a bunch of guys and kind of just gutted the whole program and kind of rebuilt it into something bigger. And we got a lot of really good primetime kind of TV time during the Wilson era, which created a lot of brand presence for IU. And so I think in a lot of ways it was, foundational to us getting here, or even those 9-win seasons that we had with Allen. So yeah, man, I look back at those years and it was an incredible experience, a lot of fun, a lot of crazy stories, a lot of funny Wilson stories that I still laugh about with former teammates. So, yeah, man, it was a special time for Indiana football for sure.
Do you keep up with any of those guys?
Yeah, it's funny. When I came in as a freshman, I had graduated early, and I actually got close with a lot of the older guys, even some guys on their way out. So if you remember Kofi Hughes, who was, a superstar receiver for Sudfeld and Trey Roberson, I'm really close with Kofi, and our wives are really close. We've got kids that are the same age now. So we talk almost weekly. Zeke Roundtree, I'm really close with. Ty Smith, Tracy Smith, the baseball coach's son.
Oh, I know Ty. I see him occasionally. Yeah.
Yeah, he's still running around Bloomington these days. So yeah, I definitely am close with some guys, and then obviously just seeing other teammates on social media and kind of keeping up from afar has been awesome. And there's still some guys in the NFL, like that's awesome to see. Nick Westbrook.
Oh yeah.
And some other dudes. So it's been incredible. I still cannot believe how far away we are from the time that we were there. Like, it feels like yesterday to me.
Me too.
Totally feels like yesterday.
I mean, you mentioned guys like Westbrook. I'm like, yeah, that seems like yesterday.
Yeah, it's just crazy how fast the time has gone, man. It kind of freaks me out sometimes.
Yeah, I'll have to get you to send me some of these guys' info. I'd love to get them on, or we can just start the Zander corner. Minimal concepts, man. Love to do that. Are you heading to the Rose Bowl, I assume?
Well, we'll see. It's kind of going to be a game time decision, so to speak, because honestly, dude, I've got a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I live in a state where I don't have family, so it's not as easy as just dropping them off at the grandparents' house. Like I said, I'm building 5 houses and 15, 20 guest houses right now. So it's just chaos. I would love to go. We'll see. Game time decision.
Good enough for us, man. Zander, I cannot thank you enough again. As always, you have always been great with us, and I look forward to doing this again. Maybe we'll, when Indiana wins, we'll talk more about the next round.
Hey, the next time I'm on, can we talk about the Indiana football apparel problem? Because we've got a serious issue with the gear these coaches are wearing, the jerseys, the memorabilia. Like, we maybe sooner than later we need to get on and have a discussion about that, because I'm fighting hard. I would like to be involved in some way to consult on the players' behalf and the fan base behalf to get us some better gear, some better designs. It's time, man. Adidas been giving us the short end of the stick for 2 decades now.
Well, you know what? There has been a lot of complaints lately. I've heard from fans that want to buy Indiana Adidas apparel, and I asked, and Adidas's stance is they're in the shoe game and the uniform game, and doing that stuff is kind of a pain for them, and that's why.
Fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Then let somebody else do it, right?
Well, for sure, but that's a problem. But the bigger problem, in my opinion, is our jersey quality, the look, the fit, the finish is not right. We do not look like a top-tier program. We look like we're, Tulane or, one of these guys, which, no hate on them, but we deserve better gear. All the coaching gear, the sideline gear isn't right. The other thing that I can't stand is, we're crimson and cream, but our white is bright white.
Yeah.
We should have a cream. The red isn't really right. There's just some things missing. And honestly, during the Allen DeBoer era, the jerseys were actually better, and they had more hints to some of the stripes and the classics and things like that. So I really would love to get involved and help with that, because one, it has a big recruiting impact. It does have an impact on the fan base. And we got to look right. When you turn on the TV, IU's going to, continue to be, a known brand, a known entity. And it's got to look and feel right. And for some reason, we're just, and it seems like everybody on Twitter agrees, so I'm not crazy.
No.
It's just not there.
Well, the market is there for someone, so let's make it happen, baby.
Can we start a petition to get me involved? I guarantee
Let's just
massive improvement. Give me 12 months. I guarantee an improvement.
Let's do it again next week, and we'll talk about the ideas and what you'd like to do and all of that.
All right, let's do it, man.
All right, Zander Diamont joining us, former Indiana quarterback, and just all around great character. Zander, I can't thank you enough, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. We'll
Appreciate
talk.
it. Go Hoosiers.
We'll talk soon. Zander Diamont joining us, man. What fun that was. What fun a day. Big thanks to Zander Diamont for joining us. Big thanks to J.D. Campbell and Jon Wertheim from 60 Minutes. Mike DeCourcy. What an incredible, full-packed day. I hope you enjoyed it. Go out and enjoy the rest of your day and keep it tuned where you got it. Right now, we're back with more tomorrow. I'm Jim Coyle. Until then, I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.